another session of GCAN, Gallant IAS and News Analysis. So let us look into the today's topic of 3rd October and 4th October. I have with me about 8 topics today. The first is the narrative of development and popularism. In the context of polity, you need to know how the kind of like development process or the populism actually take place. So we'll be looking at the difference between them. Then using of AI for auditing techniques. We know this Controller and Auditor General of India does auditing of the central government as well as the state government. So here we will be seeing how the auditing will be actually using artificial intelligence in the coming future and what are the challenges that are actually associated with it. Then we have the concept of circular migration. You might know the normal migration where people actually migrate from place like India to abroad. So we'll be looking what is the concept of circular migration. Then we have the Nobel Prize that was actually announced on 3rd October for medicine, as well as the Nobel Prize that has been actually announced for physics. There is actually a trouble with the Nobel Prize for the medicine, that is the creation of mRNA vaccine. So we will be looking at what are the troubles that is associated with it. Then we have the Astra Beyond Missile Range Air-to-Air Missile. Then we also have to discuss about the newly performed malaria vaccine by the India Serum Institute as well as the University of Oxford. So first we have the narrative of development and popularism. The thing is that recently, if you are looking, our Prime Minister Modi has actually announced some of about a 50,000 crore of project, laid a foundation stone for that much 50,000 crores of project in Madhya Pradesh, stating that it will actually enhance the development process in Madhya Pradesh. Similarly, a lot of opposition parties, like we know the 2024 elections are out to come. So the opposition parties are also promising of lot of subsidies like the reviving of the old pension schemes, financial assistance, other benefits and so on. So there is a lot of there is a thin line of difference, not thin but a huge line of difference between what is the development criteria that the government should adopt and what is the popularism. The thing is that we actually look the development in the face of infrastructure. All the developed countries, including India, we see the development process based upon the infrastructure development within the country. So if you are looking like this infrastructure development, even though it's actually required, it should be more sustainable. It should be more sustainable and it will be more approachable for the development process. But if you are looking, you can see in Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand region, which are actually more fragile area, and Himalayan area, which are actually more unstable. So when a lot of development projects are undertaken in such an unstabilized area, it is actually ought to result a lot of natural disaster. The thing is that in the Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh region, we actually saw land subsidence, there was flash floods, there was landslide, cloudburst and such are the incidents that actually take place within these kind of areas. So the thing is that even if a natural disaster actually has happened in that particular place, the government what they do, they actually again putting up a lot of development project within that particular area. Now they are constructing the Char Dham national highway kind of system to connect the Char Dham projects within India. They are also doing a lot of development projects so that they can actually state that we are doing for the development and the beneficial of Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh as such. The thing is that these areas are ecologically fragile area. The more you do the development process within this area, the more kind of disaster you will be actually witnessing in this particular area. Also these kind of lot of projects, the development projects, highways, other infrastructure projects that has been actually taken place within these areas are the proper ecological study has not taken place within that for the construction of dam and such, because even if you are going to construct a lot of projects within this particular area, in the future these projects will pose for creating of a disaster. So that is the kind of condition which we can actually find within this particular area. Another thing is that for all these infrastructure and development projects, particular funding and finance is actually needed. So all the infrastructure project is carried out by NHAI, National Highway Authority of India, particularly in the case of highway construction and such. Because of a lot of projects being taken up, there is a lot of debt within the NHAI. So if you are looking, we have a close to about rupees 3.4 trillion worth of debt that has been actually taken by NHAI, and this debt is just within the year 2017 to 2022. Within 5 years, NHAI, because of a lot of development and projects and such, the NHAI witnessed about 3.4 trillion of debt within the NHAI. Now they are also facing a lot of legal issues because of the land acquisition and such is also faced by the NHAI. So the thing is that all developed countries, like if you can look at the developed Western countries as well, after the World War II, what they did was that they focused on the infrastructure development. Then that if we actually construct the infrastructure development, this will actually help the economy on the whole. The thing is that if you actually construct better railway systems or better roads or better infrastructure in general, now this will actually aid the development process of the down road section as well. It will actually make their travel easier. It will actually create better health infrastructure facility for them. So as and all, it will actually encourage economic development within that particular area. Another concept, there are two concepts which we need to know here. One is trickle down effect. One is trickle down effect. The thing is that a lot of countries, like the thing is that if you are actually putting the development for the top layer of section, the common downward section, this will actually, these kind of developments and process will actually trickle down to the lower sections of the society, thus benefiting the entirety of the country. Now the thing is that the high tide does not actually pull up all the boats. So that is the concept of the second concept which we need to know. The thing is that even if the economic growth which is there will not will help all the participants or will help all the people. So that is what this actually the high tide enables us all is actually telling about. So if you are looking, high tide that lifts all the boats. The thing is that this particular phrase is stating that if there is actually economic growth happening in this entire society, this economic growth will be beneficial to all the sections of the society. But if you are taking the condition of India, we have economic growth now, but we actually face a lot of unemployment. This is the highest huge unemployment we had in the last 45 years. We are also witnessing a lot of poverty and other issues of natural disasters being taking place within India. So if you are saying economic growth is there, but it is benefiting all the society, all sections of society, means that that is wrong. Economic growth is there, but this economic growth is not benefiting all the sections of the society. So this trickle down effect as well as the high tide that lifts all boats are actually, like in theory we can say that they are actually, okay, they might be correct. But we come into practicality, majority of the developed countries including India face difficulty in achieving all these actually. Then populism actually comes where the development is lagging. The thing is that people will have grievance of their own. So the populism takes root within these grievance of the people, of the concerns of the people. So if there is actually gap between the development process here, the populism actually takes roots. So the thing is that when actually the thing you might feel is that populism might be good because government is actually listening to the people. But too much of populism is actually also bad. The thing is that the government may incline to participating, fulfill the desires and the visions of the people just to win the elections. So, just to win the elections. The thing is that the populism can actually lead to bad policy decision makings, as a populist leader may actually focus more on winning elections rather than developing sound policies. So, this is the difference between development as well as populism. The problem is that we actually focus too much of infrastructure, especially the trickle down effect as well as the high tide that actually lifts all the boats. So these are two concepts which we actually inclined or look into. So that is what the entire article has been actually dealing about. Here you need to know about the difference between development as well as the basic concept of what is populism as well. So moving on, we have using AI for auditing techniques. Thing is that recently there was actually a meeting called the Supreme Auditing Institutions Meeting, SAI, Supreme Auditing Institutions Meeting, that was actually conducted parallelly to G20. And in this meeting, our Controller and Auditor General actually stated that like in the future we will be completely absorbed by the artificial intelligence, especially within the auditing sector. We will be actually absolutely dependent upon artificial intelligence for the auditing purpose. So the Supreme Auditing Institution is nothing but they are actually auditing agencies. They audit the expenditure and revenues of the central government as such. So if there is a particular article, like if the Supreme Auditing Institutions are mentioned in the Constitution, or they are actually passed as an Supreme Auditing Institutions Act as part by legislation has been released by the government, then these particular institutions will actually work within the country. So that is how the Supreme Auditing SIs actually come into force within an economy. They have to either be actually mentioned in the Constitution as such, or they have to be actually brought out within a legislation. And basic is that they are actually public bodies which are actually responsible for undertaking audit of the central governments. They audit the revenue as well as the expenditure of the government. Now, the auditing challenges that has been actually posed by AI. The thing is, the first is that we have to ensure the transparency. We have to first ensure the transparency, how this is taken, the methodology that has been used by AI to create that particular auditing. What are the tactics or the methodology or what has been actually done to ensure it to the final result. So we need to ensure proper transparency within that sector. Then objectivity. The thing is that you need to analyze the data that has been actually collected. The artificial intelligence need to analyze the data that it has actually collected. They might actually get data from the social media. They might get data from anywhere. Now, like within the circulation of social media, we can get a lot of information. We can get a lot of data. The thing is that we don't know the authenticity of the data. We don't know if these data are relevant or not. So the artificial intelligence, the machine data is actually using should be able to differentiate between the authenticity of the data, authentic data and fake information as such. So that should ensure a objectivity. Then fairness and avoiding biasness. The thing is that artificial, you might feel that artificial is neutral. So how could artificial intelligence become biased? The thing is that the artificial intelligence take their content from online other medias and other sources and other websites. These websites and the other sources may be biased as well. So the artificial intelligence, while they are accreting their data, may get a biased angle as such because the contents that are present in the website and such may be biased as such. So fairness and avoiding bias is also another important factor that comes with the challenges that is actually posed by the artificial intelligence. Then why is there a requirement of responsible AI tool? The first thing is that we need an article, or we need the thing which is actually more unbiased and they need to be ethical as well. Also, we need to ensure the complete database. We don't need partial database here. We need the complete, authentic, relevant database to actually be there. The thing is that it is very different to actually get the data. So, with the artificial intelligence, it becomes easier to collect data. But we need the data to be authentic. The data set should be complete. It should not be partial. We should know which agency has released the data, what is the current status of the situations in India, especially in auditing or the expenditure or the revenue collections. We need accurate, complete data set. Accurate, available and relevant data. So this is what is the requirement, what we actually require of a artificial intelligence tool. What are the challenges that is actually faced before the controller and auditor general? The first thing is AI regulation. The thing is that AI is artificial intelligence is actually developing only. So with the newer developments, we need newer legislations, or we need amendments to the older generation. So up till now, we don't have a completely 100% fully AI regulations available in India. So that becomes one of the problems that is actually faced by the CAG. Then data standardization also becomes another issue related, because we don't know what all data is actually taken up by the artificial intelligence. Data accumulated from various sources. As I have told you, you get various sources, social media, Telegram, Signal. You can get data from any website or anywhere. So we need to know the authenticity, the accuracy. The thing is that majority of data is like fake. We live in a world between like disinformation and there is misinformation, and in between you have the information that is actually required. So the thing is that we need to know the accuracy as well. Then data accumulation and cross-referencing. The cross-referencing becomes another important element. Suppose there is a particular ministry available like housing. The housing ministry actually spending 2 crores. So the thing is that the expenditure might be different on different things. For land acquisition, there will be particular budget. Within that 2 crores land acquisition, then there will be for the payment of the employees and the purchasing of the materials. So the particular AI tool should be able to actually distinguish between all the subcategories that is available within this single expenditure or allocation. Then limited precedence of the use of artificial intelligence. Another thing is that even if there is a lot, we need to actually develop the auditing system within India, not just of the machine, but all the humans or all the employees that are actually working within this auditing general sector. The thing is that with the development of artificial intelligence, our department might be, our human resource department might not be equipped to deal with all these artificial intelligence. So we need to bring in the big guns, we need to bring in the private players. So the thing is that such sensitive information, the expenditure, the revenue of the central government, the thing is that if these are actually misused or leaked by these private parties or the third category of sources, the thing is that it will actually pose a lot of threat or a lot of grave issues for national level as well as the international level. So the thing is that we need to ensure or build up the capacity of human resources that is available within the auditing sector. So we need to actually build up the capacity building of the auditors that are actually present, and also outsourcing the third parties, because like it can be very risky, as I have told you, in the national and the international level. Outsourcing these sensitive and critical data to other private companies to analyze it might be actually very risky. So these are some of the challenges that are actually faced by the CAG as such. So what is the way forward? The thing is that we need a common international auditing framework. You can actually see a particular regulations of EU Artificial Intelligence Act, where they actually put the responsibility on the developer, and all the system they are actually developed is actually put under scrutiny. So these kind of, we can actually, in India we can actually create such regulations in lines with that of the European Union as well. There is European Union Acts, Artificial Intelligence Act, and we can create Indian Artificial Intelligence Act, the thing which actually works on the Indian ground level. Also, we need more focus on the data protection, impact assessment, as well as focus on risk and governance structure. So these are some of the important way forward that we can actually mention from this particular article as such. So you see what are the challenges that is actually posed by artificial intelligence. The thing is that in the coming future the artificial intelligence will be coming. The thing is that it will be more easier, because the data, the particular data just currently now is not socially available for the controller auditor general. It is a very tedious work as it is. So if there is artificial intelligence, this work will be much more easier. So the incursion of artificial intelligence will be happening in the future, coming future, in 2 years, 3 years, this would be actually happening. And there is a one nation, one database that will be also created, like as per the CAG said, one nation, one database will be also created by the end of 2023 or 2024. So let's move on to our next topic. We have circular migration. So circular migration is basically what is that? There is a legal migration of the same person between two or more countries. So let me explain basically. There is a source country. Suppose this is India, and then there is a destination country. Yeah, we are maybe going to France. Okay, so there is actually a lot of push factors that is actually happening from India. Then there is a lot of pull factors happening. A person is going from India to France. So there is a lot of push factors. Mainly there may be better employment opportunities within France. There is a lot of natural disasters that is happening in particularly India. So it is actually threatening the life and livelihood of the person. So it actually pushes a person to migrate outside of France. Then there is conflict, community conflict and such that is happening. Also any kind of war will actually push a person out of India to another country, so that they can actually find a better livelihood. And all these are pull factors. There is better employment opportunity, there is better livelihood opportunity, there is calm environment, the polity is stable. So this will be actually be pull factors from the part of France. So that is how one person actually migrate from the source country to a destination country. The thing is that there may be still some employment opportunities or economic opportunities for the person who has actually migrated to France still in India. So the person actually within the time being also migrates back to India. The thing is that he actually goes from India to France, and then if there is economic opportunity available in India, he will come back from France to India. So this process continues throughout the year. So a person travels actually from India to France, and then when there is economic opportunity, he travels back from France to India. Then he goes again from India to France. So the circle of loop actually continues. So this is what is called as a circular migration. There is, for this there should be like particular condition that is actually present within the source country. Thing is that he should have a temporary residence as such. He should be able to come and stay here if there is any, if he is actually coming here. Then he should have some economic opportunity, and also he should be legal, so that the thing is that he should be legal, so that the person actually can actually come back and go again and come. So these are some of the factors that actually ensures the continuation of circular economy within the world. So that is what is the source and destination, and this is the loop, like there is going and then there is coming, then again they are going and then they are coming, and one loop represents a circular economy. Now there I have shown you multiple loops. So one loop actually shows about a circular economy as such. So the first thing is that he should have a temporary residence at the source. There should be multiple entries at the destination. there should be a legal driver, should be the transition between both the countries should be legal, and also demand of labor. As I have told you, there should be economic opportunity that is available at the present place. So there is actually demand of labor. So as per the United Nations Economic Commission for Europe Task Force, they must have actually completed at least 2 loops, as I have told you, from the source destination. He comes from here, he goes here, then goes again and goes again. So a 2 loop actually completes the circular economy that is happening between 2 countries. But the problem, there is a lot of issues with the case of migration. If it's a simple case of migration, we always say that there is actually the concept of brain drain that is happening from India. We can see a lot of people flourishing well in the other countries like and such. So that is actually portrayed as a brain drain from India, where all the people with intellectual abilities and who has actually a lot of information in one particular field actually goes abroad and they work there, and they actually upgrade the economy of that destination place rather than India. So the problem with migration always comes down to the brain drain issue. But the circular migration is actually a way out of this migration issue that we actually face right now. The thing is that if there is circular migration, the brain drain won't be actually happening. It will not, negative impact of the brain drain can be actually tackled, because the person ought to come back to India, and for economic opportunity he will come back to India, for residence he might go back there. So there is actually transitioning, so that brain drain will not be actually totally negative within that case. And also labor shortfall will be actually addressed. If there is labor shortfall particularly here and the person is willing to come back for economic activity, then the labor shortfall will be actually addressed. Also, we will actually getting remittance. Now we know India is one of the largest receivers of remittance from the world, and we have about 13 million people who is actually working abroad. So we get a lot of remittance from abroad as well. And it's also, there is also development of the individual. The development of the individual as well as the economy is also balanced out. So what is the condition of circular migration within India? In India, we always have a circular migration. So if I could tell you an example, there is actually a lot of Bengalis that are coming, like particularly to work in South India. So they actually come here to work. And when there is actually a break, or if any case, especially when there was pandemic, all these people were actually going back to their home for residence. So they actually come here for economic opportunity, come to the South India for economic opportunity and go back home when there is actually holiday or something. So this is a kind of circular model economy that we can actually find in India. So in India, we always have a internal migration which is actually of circular model. And also because of this, there is an increase upwell in the urbanization or urban sector. There are a lot of people that are actually present in the urban sector. The problem is that when the population within the urban sector actually increases, it actually creates depopulation in the rural sector. There is a lot of people coming and piling up in the urban sector, and this actually posing a lot of constraints upon the development and the demand and such. And there is depopulation, the lesser number of people that is actually happening in the rural areas. And all these people actually engage in the low skill jobs. So that is actually happening. We can see the Bengalis or something, they are actually working in the construction sector or in the hotels and such, we are actually seeing. So there is actually, they engage in the low skill jobs. Now what is the issues faced by the migrants is also highlighted in the article. As such, when they are actually migrating from West Bengal and something to South India, they don't know the language, they are entirely dependent upon the middlemen, and the thing is that they work in a low salary job. They like, there's a wage meana. They are actually paid less, but they are willing to work in the less wage. The thing is that this poses a lot of problem to the local community that is within India, within this South India. Like if you are looking at, it will actually affect the labor system or the wage patterns that is actually available within the South India. Many South Indians are not willing to work for a lesser wage, but these workers are willing to work for a better wage. So this actually takes away the employment and development opportunity within the local population as such. So that is a little bit of problem that we face from the migration side. Then social discontent, also they don't actually own any kind of property and such, and they don't get a very big welfare schemes as such. In Kerala, we have a Awas health scheme to actually help these kind of migrant workers. So these are all what is actually shown in the article. There is what is called circular economy, how there is actually internal migrations happening between one country to another country, what are the, like how it will be actually helping us out against the brain drain kind of issues, and what are the general kind of issues that is actually faced by the migrants as such. Moving on, we have the Nobel Prize for Medicine. For medicine, the Nobel Prize was actually awarded to Kathleen Carrico and as well as Drew Weissman. So they were actually developed the mRNA. These stand for messenger RNA, which actually made the instruction of medicines as well as for COVID-19 which much more effective. But there was a lot of problems that was actually met with the controversy regarding this like Nobel Prize. The thing is that a person who is actually awarded Nobel Prize would actually work for the creation, like for benefit of the mankind for all. That is what one of the criteria under which the Nobel Prize is created. Whatever they have discovered has benefited all the mankind as such. But they actually state that whatever this scientists have actually created, rather than the benefit of the mankind, they have actually profited from the selling of these vaccines and such. So that is one of the key issues that has been actually highlighted. So if you are looking deep down into it, the thing is that there is like there is a particular variant, like if you take COVID itself, the COVID was incoming into India. The thing is that we need to develop vaccines as such. So particularly we need to develop the kind of strain, that the COVID virus is actually is. Then we need to actually select the particular kind of chemical candidate that is actually required so that we can actually create the vaccine. So this is a very tedious kind of work and it takes a lot of time, sometimes decades, and almost $2 to $3 billion annually might be actually taken for the development of this particular kind of vaccine. So the thing is that the government also supports them. The government actually gives subsidies to all these vaccine developers and institutions. So where does this government get the money to subsidize? It's from the people. We are tax paying. So this taxpayers' money is actually diverted as subsidy for the development of vaccine. The thing is that after the vaccine comes and it's actually still rolled in, the thing is that we have to pay again to get the vaccine. So our taxpayers' money is actually subsidized by the government. We have to pay again to get hands with the government, the vaccine. The thing is that the customer is actually paying the double. That is called the double spend that is actually imposed upon this consumer. And also thing is that many of the consumers were actually could not afford vaccines at the initial stage because it was very pricey as such. So that is one of the conditions or the issues that we actually face within this vaccine that was actually rolled out earlier. And also there was inequality that was present. The thing is that the vaccine manufacturing was, India could do it, the European nations could do it, but the low and middle income countries were actually not able to create these vaccines all their own, and it was actually very difficult for them to actually get hands into this vaccine as well. In India, we actually gave vaccines to a lot of low and middle income countries as one of the initial gestures of India, but the problem was that many of the vaccines, like not just India but of the other countries also, which was actually given out were actually either near the expiry date or were actually expired as such. And also another bigger problem is that what all vaccine that was actually given to the Europe and such for the Western and developed countries and such, these vaccines were actually hoarded by this country, because of which at the later stage this vaccine got expired and they had to be thrown away. So there is a lot of problem that are actually taking place because of the inequality that was actually persistent as such. And also the article mentions about a lot of supply side issues as well. In India, if you are looking, we have the quantity. We had to create a lot, and Russia there was actually problems with the quality. So in the supply side issue as well, we actually found a lot of problems like within the three countries as such also. So there has been actually a lot of problems happening with this. So the thing is that should be a Nobel Prize should be given for a profiting, or it should be given for a much more linear purpose was actually discussed in this article. Moving on, we have the Nobel Prize for Physics. For Nobel Prize for Physics, 3 people were given, Pereri Agostini and Annie and Ferenc were the 3 people who were actually given the Nobel Prize for Physics. Annie is the 5th such lady, only the 5th such lady to get this Nobel Prize as such. Now this prize was actually given for research using the ultra quick light flash that actually enabled the study of electrons. You know, there is atoms, within the atom there is nucleus, and the electrons actually revolve around these atoms. Like you know this, there is a nucleus here, then there is actually electrons that takes place within this surrounds this nucleus. So they actually use the quick light flash technique to actually study this electrons as such, and they particularly use a pulse measure called the attoseconds. Now this is actually lesser than the nanosecond. It is close to 10 raised to minus 18 seconds. So that is what the attoseconds is. So you should know what the attoseconds, what they actually developed or found using found and why this Nobel Prize were given, and all the 3 names if you could actually remember. So that is what the Nobel Prize for Physics is. Then we have the Astra Beyond Visual Range Air-to-Air Missile. Now this indigenously developed in India, it is told to have a range of about 110 kilometers. The thing is that they are in air, and even in 100 to 110 kilometers range, they actually can see, can actually detect a target and actually launch their missile. So that is what is called beyond visual range. Like even visual might be near to a few meters or something. In the radar, we can actually see much more kilometers or something, but with this Astra beyond visual range of air-to-air missile, we will be actually able to detect the missiles that are incoming from a distance of about 100 to 110 kilometers. That is what I actually told. It is developed by DRDO. According to Astra Mk1's technical description, it can actually attack target at flying at a speed of about Mach 1.4 at a distance of about 110 kilometers. So that is what the capability of Astra is, and the radar we use here is actually in line with that developed from the Russian Agat 9B 1103M. So our radar which we use is actually in line with that has been used in the Russia. And now India, this is the first cutting edge beyond visual range air-to-air missile that has been actually indigenously developed in India. So you can see here the Astra. Missile that successfully test-fired the light combat. This missile, this BBR-AAM was successfully tested from the Tejas light combat aircraft. So that is what has been in news recently. Then moving on to our last topic, we have the malaria vaccine. A malaria vaccine called the R21 Matrix M has been created by the Serum Institute as well as the University of Oxford as well, and the Serum Institute has this has been actually approved by WHO as well. The Serum Institute has already established the production capacity for about 100 million doses annually as well, because the malaria cases have been increasing recently. So it is very important that this vaccine should be administered for the people who is more susceptible to areas or is highly threatened by malaria as such. The capacity will be doubled over the next 2 years, which is actually crucial for vaccinating high risk malaria population, and it helps in reducing the transmission rates as well. So that is, remember, R21 or Matrix M is the code name that is actually given to the vaccine as such. So that has been what there have been in news. So we have discussed about the 8 important articles that was in yesterday's as well as today's newspaper, and tomorrow we will be actually getting poll regarding all the questions from today's as well as of tomorrow's. So stay tuned. Join our Telegram channel Gallant IAS. We will be actually posting the questions in the lunch section, Lunch Masters, from between 1 to 1:30 p.m. So please be available and actually take that quiz on time. So we will be meeting again on Friday with the news of 4th and 5th October. Thank you and have a nice day.